Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Oppert. And because of the problems with the voice thread, I'm going to redo the slideshow as a video that I'm going to make on Zoom, and then I'll upload it to YouTube, and then you'll be able to watch it there. So let me do the share screen here. And here's the presentation, and I will now start the slideshow for you. And let's see here, slideshow. Play from start. Here we go. All righty. So here we are with the slideshow presentation. So the slideshow is about why intercultural communication and diversity matter in our world today. And I hope that you enjoy it. You're going to find that I have numerous videos that are embedded in the slideshow. I am not going to actually play those videos for you during the slideshow because I could be violating copyright. And if I want to, I am going to upload this to, I'm going to upload it to YouTube. And so if I have other people's videos on it, they won't allow it. So I won't be showing you the videos, but they're all listed on the module so that you can watch them. Okay. So with no further delays, here we go. The first reason that intercultural communication and diversity are really important is because we live in a world with increased global interdependence. So this means that we are dependent on other countries. We're dependent on China. They're dependent on many countries in Latin America and so on, and they're dependent on us, interdependent. And the transportation technologies that we have connected the world. So there's an increased flow of goods and services, so things that are manufactured as well as services that are provided to people that could come from other countries, or we could be delivering them to other countries. And then even in the United States between different regions. So we're doing a lot of business with people in other states and other parts of the country. And then, of course, between nations. So we get goods from Mexico, we get goods from China, and so on, as I mentioned. The other reason that there's increased interdependence is because there are communication technologies that connect people and they connect workplaces. So examples of that are, I was taking Spanish classes from people on an app called Italki that were in Mexico, in Colombia, in Peru, in Colombia, and Venezuela. Oh, and Portugal. Okay. And so that's just one way that people are connected through technologies. And then workplaces are connected. So one of my students who graduated as a communication major got a job doing marketing for Gallo Wine in Modesto. And every day she talked to people in other countries because but Gallo bought wine from other countries and sold wine to other countries. So there are lots and lots and lots of companies that operate that way. And she said that the intercultural class that she took in college was one of the most useful classes she could have taken for her current job. And she had no idea until she was in the job that would be the case. The second reason why intercultural communication and diversity are important is because war in one country affects people all around the world today because of that interdependence. I have here embedded a video that's on YouTube. And like I said, I can't play you the video during my presentation because of copyright, but all the videos that I mentioned here are listed on the module page for you to watch. And this is just to give you an idea of why we're watching that video. So the war in Ukraine, as you'll see in the video, has been very, very serious, not only for the people there and the surrounding areas, but for the entire globe, because so many people are dependent on Ukraine for grains and other supplies that they have in their country. And then Russia also was supplying people with oil and gas. And because of their anger towards people supporting Ukraine, they started cutting off those supplies to Europe, and Europe wasn't getting oil and gas. And then even Africa was getting oil and gas and so on from Russia. So a war in one place has actually put the whole entire world into an economic crisis. There's increased starvation, increased poverty. And in this country, we've seen all our prices rise. And food has become really, really expensive, as well as gas and so on, right? So that's just a war in one country that's affecting the entire world. Now, as far as the way that countries have become really interdependent because of trade, I wanted you to see more details about this because some of you may be working in places that are part of this global system. And this particular film will show you actually, this isn't a film, this is just a chart that you can look up here. It's from Princeton University, and this is just a chart. So you can see here that we're getting products from the European Union, and so is Canada, and then we're selling products to Mexico. And I know that we also sell products below that border. And then here we're getting products from New Zealand. We get a lot of dairy products from New Zealand, right? We get a lot of cheeses from over there. Okay, we also get a lot of lamb from New Zealand. So this is just giving you an indication of what it's like for one industry. So imagine now multiplying this by all of the different industries that create all our goods and services, right? That's a lot. All righty, so now this particular movie looks at the supply chain. It's a design and simulation of it. So I thought this could be very interesting to understand how supply chains work in more detail. And you can just imagine with people from all different countries having to do business with each other to get to make these supply chains work. Imagine how hard it must be for people from different cultures to be able to communicate effectively, because there could be so many just unintended misunderstandings that come out when you're dealing with different cultures. This video shows you the supply chain for just one company. So this, I'm acknowledging this is a big company that deals with very pricey products, right? So this is Boeing, and they produce different kinds of aircraft. They employ more than 140,000 employees in 60 different countries. And so just in this diagram, you could see how the different parts of one plane are divided up. And you'll watch, if you watch the video, you'll see how that works, how these different parts are being manufactured in different parts of the world, and then different supplies being sent to the different manufacturers and so on. So it's very, very interesting to see how this globalization works. This particular video looks at cross-cultural management, and it gives you an example of one person who had to deal with a person from another country and some of the challenges that he had, and then also how he overcame the challenges. So it gives you an idea of how important intercultural communication skills are, okay? So the reason I'm showing you this is because you may be sent abroad to meet with clients, or people might be sent here to the United States from other countries. And then even within the United States, we have people from other countries all working together on teams and having to get along and overcome cultural differences. Another reason why intercultural communication and diversity are so important is because of the increased global insecurity. Right now, we know that there are extreme threats to the environment and the resources that we get from the environment. And a lot of that's because of climate change, but there are other things as well, right? So these threats to the environment require increased cooperation between different countries and different cultures so that we can solve these problems. There's also increased inequality both within. So look at in the United States, the distribution of wealth has gotten really extreme, with the rich getting more and more and the poor getting poorer and the middle class getting squeezed. And then between countries, we have extreme poverty. We have people that are starving, that have no food whatsoever. We have people trying to live on $1 a day and feed families. So all of that inequality breeds starvation, other, health issues and other problems, and just a general feeling of being deprived. When people are really frustrated from being deprived, then that makes them ripe for recruitment into violent groups. And groups could be just simple gangs in your neighborhood, like I know some of us live around gangs, to more organized criminal groups, and we have those here and in other countries, and then terrorist groups, right? So the more people are feeling resentment towards the fact that they don't have what they need to live, the more likely they are to get recruited by people that are telling them that this is a solution to their problems, to get into these violent groups, whatever they're doing, whether it's selling drugs or other kind of contraband. The sex trade sex slave trade is just really out of control right now, and other child slavery, all kinds of horrible criminal activities going on around the world. And it takes cooperation. Sometimes it takes cooperation across different countries to try to get some control over this, and to also try to cut down on the amount of people that get recruited into these kinds of groups that engage in violence and corruption. I have a film that I want you to watch from the UN that talks about the increased global insecurity, but happily the film ends with looking at some of the solutions are, and it's a very brief video. I think it's only 3 minutes long. All of the videos that I posted from other websites are mostly very small or very short, like 3 minutes to 5 minutes max. Okay. Next, we have increased intrastate violence. So what is that? Intrastate violence, right? So intrastate violence when people are talking about international relations, a state is a nation state. So it's not like the states within one country, but an entire country is a state. So intrastate violence is violence that's occurring inside of one country. And here you have the red line shows you the increased violence in intrastate conflicts. So these are violent conflicts where people pick up guns and arms and fight other groups in their own country. So this was 1946 when they started tracking this, and it got really high in the 1990s, and then it went down and then came back up. And so we see some decrease, and now we see it's on the rise again. Okay. So people within countries that are suffering a lot of deprivation, people pick up arms, they get recruited into violent militias, and they start wars, civil wars within their own countries. Now, the amount of conflict between countries that you can see has remained relatively stable since 1946. It doesn't move that far up or down on the graph, but the intrastate conflicts that are happening, conflicts between organized militias within countries, guerrilla groups and so on, right? It goes up and down. We see some slight increase, and now we see it's going up even higher. So this is when the intrastate violence of militia groups and other kinds of armies, guerrilla armies that develop, are getting to the point where they're getting big enough that they cross their country's boundaries and go into other countries. So those kinds of violent activities are on the rise and wreaking havoc in a lot of places, and that's very dangerous. And so as we saw with Ukraine, a war in one country can affect everybody. So these are very serious threats. Now, within the United States, we are going to be looking at demographic groups within the United States in our book, Diversity Matters, or A Difference Matters, that Brenda Allen wrote. And within the United States, the demographics have changed a lot and continue to change. And you'll see on this video that I found on YouTube, it's an excellent video, explains the demographic changes in the United States. Now, mistakenly, a lot of people are threatened by immigration because they think that immigration is what's causing all of these demographic changes. But you'll learn in the film that actually it's because people within different demographics are having babies in the United States. And so a lot of groups that were formerly minorities are becoming equal to the majority group, which has been the white people from Europe, whose descendants, or even could be more recent immigrants, but the white majority now, that people in other groups are catching up. Particularly, I think Hispanics are one of the fastest growing right now, but Asians are also growing. So you'll hear all about these demographic changes in the United States. So as the demographics shift, they shift in particular communities, but also to get more opportunities within the United States. People are moving around a lot. It's not unusual for people to get a job out of state because they can't find a job that they want in state. It's also not unusual for people to get transferred to another state when they work for a large company that's national. So, and then people, they move because of family reasons. They move just because they want a different location. They would rather live in the mountains or rather live by the seashore or whatever. So people move around. And so this is making the populations within our states in the United States change. And these demographic changes are requiring that we learn how to get along with different people here in the United States, because different identity groups have different cultures. And in the workplace, you're going to find that you're working on multicultural teams or diverse teams. And so it's really imperative that you understand people who are different and learn how to bridge those differences and get along with different people. So these are, the last one is on immigration, or when people emigrate to another country, right? So this is a short film that lists all the reasons why people emigrate. So you may be an immigrant. There may be people in your family that were. I know I related to this a lot because both of my parents, they're from 2 different countries. And I know a lot of my students either are immigrants or their parents or their grandparents were. And even if your family has been here for a century or more, unless you're a Native American, some of the people in your family were originally immigrants. So this is a really interesting film to look at some of the reasons why people immigrate and why immigration has become very, very widespread right now, because people are experiencing hardships in some countries and they're looking for ways to improve their options in life. In sum, what I've talked about is that intercultural communication matters because the world has become increasingly interdependent. We may work in other countries or with people from other countries. Global security demands that we work together effectively to resolve major problems like climate change, inequality, hunger, and violence. Diversity matters in the United States because demographics are changing and most organizations and communities are composed of diverse people who must work together effectively. And we must learn to bridge the divides plaguing this nation. I will add one more thing here, which is that we live in a nation that promises equality and justice. So if our organizations are going to live up to that pledge, we have got to learn to increase equity in our organizations and let all people thrive and not just a small minority of people. So we'll be looking at some of those issues in our class as well. That's all for the presentation. I look forward to seeing all of your responses on Canvas.